Today I want to talk to you about how an observation hive can enhance your business. And as Andrew said, I'm Frank Linton, author of the Observation Hive Handbook. So what I hope to show you and demonstrate to you is the options that you have for installing an observation hive and the benefits you will get by using one. To start with, I will define an observation hive for you by talking about its features. Simply put, an observation hive is a glass beehive. And you can see in this picture that the glass is far more important than the wood in an observation hive. And the key thing about an observation hive when you get one is that you can see every cell of honeycomb in the hive. Okay? That way you'll know what's going on. Something that is not obvious and is often missed in many observation hives is the attention to bee space. If there's too much space between the glass and the honeycomb, then it will be filled with bees and you won't see what's going on. You'll just see a bunch of bugs under the glass. Okay? So that's no good. So pay attention to bee space. In this image that I have on the screen here, I'll go over the parts of the hive. At this end of the hive, near the camera, there's a feeder, and you often have to feed bees in an observation hive because they don't have enough space to do their normal honey storage. At the other end of the hive, there's a tube going out the window, and that allows the bees to come and go whenever they wish all year round, at least in a hive that's installed permanently, like this one is. Behind the person in the image, there is a light. You'll notice that the bees are rather dark in this image. And in order to see what they're doing, you need to have a good external source of light, more than just a normal room light. And finally, you'll notice that the hive should be at eye level, so your normal hive stand won't work. This happens to be a bookcase from the IKEA store, and that works just about right. When I mentioned making every cell be visible, a requirement for that is to make the hive just 1 frame wide, not 5 or 8 or 10, or even 2 frames wide, just 1 frame wide, so you can see every cell that's in that hive. If you make a hive that's 2 frames wide, and they're available, then all the action will be between the frames, and you won't see what's going on. And finally, you should make a point of using the same frames in the observation hive that you select as in your standard hive, so that you can swap frames in and out as you need to. Okay, going on to the point of this talk here, I'll start with one more slide about observation hives, and then I'll talk to you about the 4 ways that observation hives will enhance your business. Really only 3, but 4 for conceptual understanding here. Then I'll talk about a few more details that you need to keep in mind and summarize the entire presentation. Okay, so one more slide about observation hives. The purpose of an observation hive is to educate and entertain people. Those people can be you, they can be other beekeepers, they can be the public, but the point of the observation hive is for the people. And that means it's probably suboptimal for the colony, but that's okay. It's an educational thing. It's not to optimize honey production or anything like that. In thinking about selecting and installing and operating an observation hive, you need to make a decision on whether it's going to be a private hive or for private viewing or for the public, and whether it's going to be a permanent installation or a temporary one. So here is a permanent private hive. This is a commercially available one, at least from beekeeping suppliers in the States. And this would be the kind of hive that you would install in your own home or in your office, so your family, your friends, and your workmates could see it. And you can see there's a number of benefits for having a hive like this. First of all, you'll be with the bees all day, every day for the entire year. And you will not only see them as you would expect with an observation hive, but you can hear them and smell them, and you can put your hand on the glass and feel by the temperature difference where the brood is. And at the colony level, if you install a permanent hive, you will be with that colony for the entire year, all year round. And that will give you the opportunity to watch that colony grow and shrink and change over with the seasons. As a result of that, you will increase your knowledge about bees, even if you've been keeping bees for many years. And you will see the effects of your interventions, especially your mistakes. They become quite obvious. And if we had more time, I could give you some stories about that. I have a whole presentation on the mistakes that are visible in an observation hive. And finally, to summarize this slide, it will make you a better beekeeper. In the second case, here's a permanent hive installed in a public place. And the purpose of this hive is quite different. It's to educate and entertain the public rather than you. And there's a lot of benefits to that. First of all, it will attract visitors to your place of sale and to your customers, right? And you will be able to show them these social behaviors. I should say, not only you could have one of these in your business, you could also support one in a public place like a natural history museum or a nature center. Yeah? And there you might just have a card on it saying that this hive was maintained by your business. Okay? People will come to your business to see this hive, or they will go to that museum or nature center to see the hive. They'll make a point of it. People love to see these things, and it draws them in. Even the people who are concerned or afraid of bees will want to look at them and understand them and know what's going on. And that gives you the chance to explain the value of bees as pollinators, and it gives you a chance to talk to the public about how they can make their gardens and their yards and the landscape around them bee friendly or even pollinator friendly. Now, the one thing about an observation hive in a public space is that you have to really work to keep it looking good. So it takes more work than a regular hive, and it takes more work than a hive in your own private space. But it's really worth doing because so many people get so much out of it. Now, the other alternative to a permanent hive in a public space is a temporary hive in a public space. And the benefits are identical, so that's good. The thing that a temporary hive does is it's portable, and you can take it to a farmer's market or to a fair or any kind of show and tell that you want to do. You can take it to any group, anytime. It's easy to move around, and it has the same benefits as before. The cost of this is you have to make a decision about whether to put the queen in there with the other bees and on that frame and deprive a colony of its queen, or you can do something different, which is also a temporary public hive. This design here allows you to keep the queen with the colony. The trade-off is that you've got to schlep around 25 kilos of the colony to display that same single frame. But otherwise, the benefits are there and just great. Fourth option, a temporary private hive. I couldn't think of any real reason why you might want to do this other than possibly to see a queen emerge or something like that, but just to round out the four possibilities. Okay, so given that you can have a temporary or permanent private or public hive, there's a few things you need to think about, especially if it's going to be a permanent installation. First is, where are you going to put it? And when you put it there, that site because this is a glass hive that the bees can't control the temperature in, it's certainly not a condensing hive. It needs to be at least 18 degrees or warmer when it's cold outside, okay? And if the sun is shining on it, that's a real no-no because the bees can't control that temperature. It needs to be shaded in the summer. And then, as I mentioned in the initial slide, for the viewer, it needs to have good illumination. In terms of selecting the hive and preparing the site, again, standard frames are a real help because that allows you to exchange frames with your other colonies. And you should think about when you choose the hive, the quality of the workmanship, because if you are showing off these bees, you want them to look good. And if you have a crummy looking box, even if it's glass, that doesn't show the bees off at their best. They deserve a nice looking hive. Okay? Setting up a permanent hive is really not difficult. The thing that people seem to have trouble with is this concept of how they are free flying. They are not caged like an animal in a zoo. That's their home. They can come and go as they wish. And to do that, you need to give them access to the outside, which means putting a board in the window and a hole in the board and running a tube from the hive to that hole. And if you do it carefully and think about it a little bit, the window should still work as a window, the screen should still work as a screen. And then there's one other thing. When those bees go outside, where do they go? You don't want them flying into somebody's face. You don't want them, you know that bees fly out of the hive and poop. Well, you don't want them flying out of the hive and pooping on your neighbor's car. That is a non-starter. And then another maintenance question that you'll have is the main problem you'll have especially during buildup, is you'll have too many bees. And there's two ways to deal with that. One is to simply remove the frames of brood as the queen fills them up and add them to another hive. But another thing to do is just to install a frame with eggs and young larvae on it and watch the bees raise a new queen. And you can do that over and over again, and that really slows them down for a few months. And then finally, excuse me, there's the question of things like varroa mites, which unfortunately I know you now have. I simply put a pest strip into the hive, and that seems to work okay. Otherwise, you can take the frames out of that observation hive, put them into another box, a nuke box, for example, and treat them with oxalic acid vapor or some sort of vapor, and then return them to the observation hive. Okay. So let me give you some resources here. The first one is the beepeaker.com. This site doesn't sell anything. It just aggregates a lot of information from around the web into an observation hive site, and then it points to those resources. Okay? That's the beepeaker.com, not the beekeeper. Okay? And it's the beepeaker. The second resource for you is the Observation Hive Handbook. This is the best book on that topic on the market. I think it's the only one. And you can get this on Amazon or in many other places on the internet. And then finally, this book here, Hive Tour, that contains full-page color photographs of everything you can see in the beehive with your naked eye. My co-author on this, Bill Frank, is a professional photographer, and he threw away all my pictures and put in all of his and made the book much better for it. So that is that reference. The language in this book is very carefully edited to be scientifically correct. And as a former English language instructor, we made sure that even a young child can read this book. Okay, so to summarize, an observation hive is a glass beehive. It's for you and other people. It's not there for the bees. Okay? It will make you a better beekeeper. It will attract customers. The audience can be public or private, your choice, how you set it up. The installation can be permanent or temporary, depending on your needs. So that is it. There's my email address. Feel free to contact me with any questions. Thank you very much.